Hi, Tiffany here, Hot Mom's Dinner Club. Today I'm making crab rangoon. I don't know if it's the Christmas story or not, but I often think of Chinese food around the holidays. And I love crab rangoons for the Christmas Eve snacky party. We're gonna basically do the whole package of wonton wrappers. To me, there's not much you can do with them after you open them. So why not just go ahead and make a big batch of crab rangoons? You can pop them in your freezer, freeze them on a sheet pan, and then once they're frozen, you can bag them up and you can fry them from the frozen state any point in time. So why not just go ahead and make a big batch? You're going to all the trouble anyway. Have them ready, handy in the freezer anytime you like them. We're actually going to have ours for Christmas Eve and then pull them out again for New Year's Eve. And we'll probably even have at least enough for another meal, like I'll make some fried rice or something, and we'll have some crab rangoons with that as well. I'm also going to do a mix of real crab meat with imitation crab meat. I like to do this because you get a lot more yield when you cut the real crab meat with the imitation crab meat. And real crab meat is pretty pricey, $10 to $20 a pound sometimes, and your imitation crab meat is next to nothing. So I like to cut it 50-50. I'm also going to freeze the remaining part of the crab meat. I'm going to pop that in the freezer as well. And so I'll have half the crab meat left over that I can use for a batch of crab salad, make a crab bisque, or just make another batch of crab rangoon. I've got fresh cilantro, scallions, ginger, garlic, all this to add into the cream cheese for the filling for the crab rangoons. I'm also going to show you how to make a homemade sweet and sour sauce using orange juice, chili garlic sauce, again, some of the cilantro, the scallions, and I'm also going to toast some sesame seeds to sprinkle on top. And a word of advice on the sesame seeds, check your ethnic aisle in the grocery store. You'll be amazed. This pack of sesame seeds cost me 99 cents in the spice aisle. They were $5. Always check that out. You can often save a lot of money that way. I'm excited to get started on these. So let's start by making our sauce because we're actually going to put a little bit of the sauce into the filling. So we're starting our sauce for our crab rangoons. I'm going to put a cup of orange juice in here. I'm also going to do a half cup of rice wine vinegar. A half cup of light corn syrup. 1 to 2 tablespoons of chili garlic sauce, depending on how spicy you want it. I'm just going to do 1 and see what happens. I'm just going to let this reduce down for a bit. I'm going to go ahead and start on the filling while this kind of reduces down to more of a syrup consistency. So I'm going to put it on kind of a medium heat, and I might have to kick it down even more after a bit. And while that's simmering and reducing, I'm going to go ahead and start on the filling. I'm going to start by getting our cream cheese out to soften, and then I want to start cutting up the ginger, the garlic, the cilantro, and the scallions. Now on the crab meat, you're going to want to pick through it a little bit to make sure that you don't have any shell or cartilage in here, okay? There could be some hard shell in here, so you're going to want to make sure that you pick that out. I'm going to go ahead and clean the whole can, even though we're freezing half of it. Once you get it all clean, you're going to want to squeeze out any excess moisture. We're going to freeze half of the imitation crab meat. And the half that we're going to use today, I'm just going to rough chop that up too, because you do want smaller pieces in these rangoons. You don't want them to be too big because they're very small little appetizers. And kind of bust that up a little bit. Next, I'm going to get my garlic chopped up here. And I'm going to get my ginger. I'm going to get that peeled. And then I'm actually going to grate that into the cream cheese. So I'm going to finish up the rest of the filling. Right now, I'm going to reserve some of this cilantro and scallions because we're going to put some of that in our sauce. But we want to wait till that sauce cools down because you don't want to add it while the sauce is hot because you'll turn all your bright green garnishes to brown. So we're going to just reserve this, and once our sauce is cooled down, we'll add that in. And also we have a little bit just to kind of sprinkle on top for a garnish. I'm going to start whipping the cream cheese, just kind of lighten that up, and I'm going to start adding all the other flavorings into it. As you can see, our sauce is starting to thicken up here. I did add 2 more tablespoons of light corn syrup into this. It was starting to get a little bit too spicy for us. So you can see it's starting to get a little bit thicker. So probably just a couple more minutes and this will be ready to cool down. We can add it into our filling at any point in time, but I do want to let it reduce just about 2 minutes longer just to thicken up a little bit more, and then we're going to chill it. And once it's cold, you can add in your cilantro and your scallions. So I've got everything ready to go for the filling. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get my other half of the crab meat in the freezer because crab meat is actually very delicate, can go bad very quickly. So we're going to get this in the freezer before we forget about it. I've also got our sauce cooling down here. I'll put it in the clean container before I chill it in the fridge, just so you can get as much off the sides as possible. The syrup will get very sticky once it starts to get cold. I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of it, even though it's warm, to the cream cheese. It'll actually kind of soften up the cream cheese, make it whip a little bit better. And we're going to start adding in the rest of the ingredients. Remember to save some cilantro and scallions, remember, for putting in the sauce here, and also to garnish the top along with the sesame seeds. Also, as I did mention, this is Christmas, and with a million things on my mind, I actually usually add a diced red pepper into my crab rangoons as well. I've yet to find my red bell pepper. I do not think I made it out of the store with the red pepper. To me, it just adds a little bit of bite to the filling, so you get a little bit more substance in the filling, and just one more flavor profile. I like red for the color factor. You could use orange, yellow, or even green. Take all the seeds out, and then just kind of fillet it and dice it very, very small. Now that you have the best crab rangoon filling in the world, you're going to pop this in the refrigerator while you get set up to actually roll the wontons out. Now we're going to assemble the crab rangoons. I like to kind of lay them all out on the cutting board. Now if you are lucky enough to have help on this, now is the time to call in the reinforcements, okay? Because you can set up a little crab rangoon factory here and get these done ASAP. If you're only one person doing it, it is going to take you some time. Once you do get these laid out, you want to move fairly quickly because they will dry out quickly. But I like to kind of lay them all out because if you do this one by one, you're going to be a long time getting anywhere. Like I said, if you have some help, that would be awesome. With the wrappers, you can try to keep them covered as you're working with them so they don't dry out. If you are going to be a while, you can always place your filling on top of another bowl with ice water, sitting down in the ice water to keep that chilled. I've got them all lined up here. Now we're going to put the filling right here in the middle. I'm going to do this to all of them. There's definitely a fine line between not enough and too much stuffing. So be careful, you don't want to put too much in there that they explode on you and you lose all your good stuff. But you also want an adequate amount so they're tasty. I've got just a bowl of water. You can use egg if you want, but particularly because we're going to be freezing these, I don't want to put the egg on there. Sometimes the egg makes the wontons very brittle as they freeze. So I'm just using straight water. Plus, there's no reason to waste an egg. I think they seal just fine with water. As we finish them off, I'm going to place them on the sheet pan with a little bit of wax or parchment paper. Then I'm going to lightly spray these things will stick really badly to your sheet pan. So we're just gonna lightly spray this parchment paper. That way, once they're frozen, they should come off very easily. And we're gonna lay them out so that we can freeze them. And then once they're frozen, that's when you can bag them up and then keep them frozen. So I've got my water here. I'm just going to take my fingers. I'm going to do all the edges of the wrapper, all 4 edges. This I'm going to do one by one because you cannot pre-do this. It'll dry up by the time you get to the next one. So we're going to fold up your 2 corners there. And we're going to take that edge in. And we're just going to fold it up into that one. When you are crimping them, make sure all your edge got moistened, because any part that didn't get moistened and feels dry will not seal. If you think a portion of it is kind of dry, make sure you dab a little bit more water on there just to make sure you have a tight seal so you don't lose your stuffing. So again, fold it up there, 2 corners there, and tuck this side in to meet that edge. Make sure you crimp it down on these. And the same thing. There are several ways you can fold these. This is just my preferred method. All right, so you're going to take your 2 edges here. Take it right up, even. Give it a little pinch. Turn it a 1/4 turn, and then you're going to slide this up. The same thing, make sure they're all even. And then you're going to want to pinch your sides. Try to push out any air if there is air. And then do the same thing with your last side. You'll want to slide that up. Kind of try and get as even as possible, all in the middle. Again, squeeze out any air and crimp your edges. And then I usually just kind of go over one more time. Like I said, if you have any dry spots, you'll need to add just a touch more water just to make sure that they get sealed. We'll lay those out then like that, and we'll pop that whole thing laid out in the freezer. Now it's time to go to town on these because you do want to work fairly quickly. All the crab rangoons are rolled out, so I'm going to pop these in the freezer. You want to make sure you lay them flat, get them completely frozen first, and then after that you'll be able to bag them up and put them in any other container that you'd like, a Tupperware or just a Ziploc baggie. But you do need to lay them flat, so make sure you have something that will fit into your freezer so you can slide it in and keep them flat. Now I'm going to finish up the sauce for the crab rangoons. Remember, I'm going to save a little bit of the cilantro and the scallions again to garnish the top, so I'm going to put some of this in here. I'll put the sauce in the refrigerator overnight, and these will be ready to go for us to fry tomorrow. To toast off the sesame seeds, we're just going to toast them off in a saute pan, and just going to do a little bit. We don't need a whole lot. It's just for a garnish. You want to toast them over medium-high heat. Once they start toasting, you'll need to constantly move it. And now, even after you've removed it from the heat, you'll need to keep moving your sesame seeds because they will continue to brown just from the heat in your pan. You can also do this with black sesame seeds. I just did the one because I didn't have either one. I didn't want to buy both of them. So I just purchased the white sesame seeds, but you can also even do a mix of white and black. If you do eat a lot of Asian food, I like to have them both on hand, and that way you can have a mixture of both of them. Toasting seeds or nuts just kind of concentrates the flavor. It takes some of the moisture out, just concentrates the flavor, and just adds another extra level to the flavor. So those seem nicely toasted to me, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump them in here. That way you don't have to worry about them anymore. These are pretty hot, so just be very careful. Let them cool down a bit. So it's Christmas Eve, time to fry up the crab rangoons. So they set and froze, and then I bagged them up. So we've got this many we're going to fry off for tonight. And then I still have this many left that I'm just going to keep in the freezer. Like I mentioned, we'll have some for New Year's Eve, and for another meal or two, we'll even have leftovers. So we got my garnishes here all ready to go. We've got our homemade sauce that we made, our homemade sweet and sour sauce. We got our chopped up cilantro and scallions and our toasted sesame seeds. That's all ready to go as soon as they come out of the fryer.